So, hello, everybody. Take a look at what the cat dragged in. Today, I have literally the cat. Today, I have the pleasure of having a conversation with Olivia, known in the internet as the Witch of Wonderlust. If you are on my channel, you probably already know her, but anyway, either way, please, Olivia, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Olivia. Like they said, I'm known as the Witch of Wonderlust on the internet, and I began to grow on the internet as an occult YouTuber, a lot of like folk practices and videos on that such, and now I'm doing a lot more of just like lifestyle things with spiritual things sprinkled in to kind of give a little bit more of an idea of realistic practice and like everyday to day magic type of thing. So it's not so heavily on magic anymore, but there is still plenty of magic in my videos if you know where to look.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm gonna leave all her links in the description in case maybe you don't know Olivia and you want to check out her content. So, Olivia, we are going to start talking exactly about this shift in your content. It was a little bit difficult for me to think about themes to ask you questions about because you've been interviewed for so many channels and podcasts. It's like every possible question has already been asked. So I was thinking for an entire week, but I got some topics. So now that your content is changing and you are kind of stepping out of the niche thing, what do you envision to share with your audience from now on?
Um, I mean, like I said in the intro, I think it's more of every day-to-day things because I think that especially on the internet and just kind of like as modern practices, we kind of tend to separate magic and mundane when they're one and the same. You know, mundane is magical and magic is mundane. It just depends on how you view it and how you use it. And I personally really just enjoy vlogging. I personally just enjoy documenting and creating just to create. Like, I don't want to be pressured to create something because I need to. I want to create something because I want to. And I like capturing like little moments of the day. I really like doing um, smaller things, like romanticizing those things. So in my last vlog, like as of this video being posted, I like started cooking a lot more for myself, which we can talk a little bit about later because that is kind of more of a spiritual thing now. um but even that, like my craft of videoing is helping me kind of like romanticize a lot of the more mundane things and create them to be a little more meaningful in my life, I guess. And I don't know, I think maybe that helps other people. Like, I kind of just started doing more videos for me again because there was, I think, at least like 7 or 8 years in there that I was making videos for everybody else and I got burnt out all the time. So that's my shift right now, is just kind of like focusing on things that I want to do. So more pole dancing, more vlogging, more art stuff, just kind of like random little things. And you will see me do my practice throughout my vlogs, but it's not like an in-depth 101, here's how to do all these things type of deal. It's more of like, this is how I do it and how I incorporate it into my life.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, people seem to forget most of the time that magic can be infused and inbuilt in everything we do, basically. It doesn't need to be a whole thing, ritual, whatever. Magic is in every little thing that we do with intention, I would say. And I can speak for myself that I am really enjoying this new era of like documenting things. I like this type of content. I follow other channels that do that and have nothing to do with spirituality. So I am having a good time as a viewer. But how is the
Good.
general audience? Especially that video. I'm not a content person. That video was
Oh,
really very good, I have to
yeah,
say.
that one was, so I'm not what's really funny is before I released that for about like a year-ish, I started realizing about myself that I'm not as like open and as vulnerable as a person as I thought I was. Like speaking to people who've known me for years, speaking to other people who like are just now starting to get to know me, just a lot of things. And people are like, oh no, you're not very open at all. And I'm like, really? I feel like I'm a really open person. And so that kind of like forced me to look at myself of like, well, I want meaningful and deep connections with the people around me. So in order to do that, I have to open up. And also I wanted to start creating things for me and less for, an audience. And that video specifically was the first opening line is I just ended my relationship of 3 years, right? Of almost 3 years. And that's usually like, what? And it's like I didn't do that so that there was drama or anything. I think the main reason I actually did that was because I was at such a breaking point, not with my relationship, like just in general as a creator and as a person of like I just wasn't feeling inspired. I wasn't excited about creating anything. Like I think my years of like up and down of burnout finally caught up to me. And then the reason I started out with like, hey, I just ended my relationship was because I know how the internet is. Like there's a lot of observant people out there and they're going to notice that my backgrounds are changing. They're going to notice that, I'm not living with a partner. I'm living with a flatmate now. And so like I didn't want all of these like unnecessary questions and prying and like speculations or things like that. Like I just wanted to throw it out there of like, hey, by the way, this is a thing. This is why things are changing. Anyway, moving on to my content and why I'm not a content person, which is funny because a lot of people were like, you're not a content person? And I'm like, oh, I hate English. Like it's spelled the same way, but they're two totally different words. And I'm like, that's fair. That's totally. But I mean, I guess it goes both ways. Like I'm not a content person. I'm not here to make content just to make content.
Like mass produce
but
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also not a content person, and I don't think I've ever been. And I kind of explained that a little bit in that video. But that video was one of my favorite videos, even though I was fucking terrified to post it. Because like it's just so much of like I just straight up I'm like, here's where I'm at in my relationship, here's where I'm at in my life, here's where I'm at in my career, here's where I'm just like I don't know where I'm going and I never have and I don't think I ever will, so let's do this. Like that's kind of how it felt. But it was really, really good to make it and I got really good responses from it so far.
Yeah, like I don't have the same reach that you do, but people seem to really enjoy seeing a human part of us that has flaws, that has struggles, and that's where they can relate to us in a more meaningful manner. So I think that video was really very impactful and very relatable because nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows where their lives are going. And sometimes I would say that especially on the spiritual community, there's a lot of effort to seem perfect and in charge and in control all the time. But that's not how life is, even if you're practicing,
Right.
Let's take a look. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like all the practitioners, I think like if you make mistakes, you're like, oh shit, I'm doing it wrong. And it's like in reality, I think mistakes are like a huge part of it. Like literally moving in here, I had a black candle. We're in an apartment, right? So like it's rented, it's not ours. And so I had a black candle on my death altar and it like melted over and just started dripping like out of everything and onto, it was like on a banister, like high up. So it was off the banister, down the wall, black candles on white walls. And it was very, very close to my roommate's PS4. And I was like, so both of us were like, so no candles next to the PS4, agreed. Like, and I've been practicing for years, and this shit still happens to me. So I think, mistakes are part of it.
Yeah. Get a little plate or something. I don't know.
I know. Well, I had a plate. It was, I know I needed a bigger one or something, or like something that has like walls.
Or maybe it's something like this, look.
Yeah, like a bowl or something. But it was a new kind of candle that I'd never tried before. So now I know if it's a candle that I don't know how it works, put it in a bowl.
I also think about that sometimes because over here, every apartment has fire alarms. So every time that I am smudging, that bit will go off. So in this apartment, it's still the old one. I removed the battery out of it because I smudge. Sorry, I hope the
I
police will
mean,
not come after me. But in the new apartment, I don't know if I will be able to do that because it's not
mm,
like mine. I will have two flatmates and like smudging the
mm,
house. I don't know if I will be able to do that. Anyway, we are going to talk about flatmates in a moment. So
okay.
let's go to the next question. So the next question that I thought about was, do you think that sharing parts of your practice online during like all these years has interfered on how you do your craft?
Um, I think I don't think it's interfered on how I do my craft unless we look at more of like meeting other people who have influenced my craft. So, I mean, there's so many other creators out there that are, or like practitioners who are also creators that I've learned from, you know, that I've become
Mm-hmm.
really close friends with, and we've kind of traded and shared different techniques and different practices. So in that sense, I would say yes, because I've gotten to meet some really cool people in the community and learned a lot from them. But just me putting my practice online, I don't think I would say that it's changed it. I think it's more of just me realizing how uncomfortable, like realizing how personal it is. Like I always thought like, oh, I'll probably just be that witchy person that like I'll just do rituals in front of people. I don't care. But like in reality, like no, like, I don't want to do that. Like these things are so incredibly personal and like very vulnerable. And as we talked about before, I have an issue with that apparently. So like
Mm-hmm.
especially with that, you know, like I definitely don't like I want to share with you what I'm doing for a spell, but I don't want to share with you like I want to share the spell, but I don't want to share with you like why I'm doing the spell and all the details about it, which kind of like makes the whole spell video redundant. So it was always
Yeah.
hard to be like, here's a spell, because I'm not gonna like waste supplies and do like a mock spell, but I also don't want to share with you like this really deeply personal spell of like why I'm doing something just so that I can teach you how to do it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So I think that those are the two biggest things of like it showed me how vulnerable it is to actually share spell work, and also taught me a lot through other practitioners.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for now, I am just sharing things that are more part of my culture. So it doesn't get that
Hmm.
personal, but I can totally understand when I think about personal things that I do for myself. I don't think I would want to share that on the internet because, like you said before, people are like watching and observing and they start making comments. Like they feel that they have the right of sharing their random opinions about what we're doing. So, yeah, I totally understand that part of privacy. And how does creativity on demand make you feel? Because once we are on the internet, there's kind of that pressure for us to be present all the time and coming up with new ideas and being there the whole time, every day. How does that make you feel?
I'm exhausted. I am not, again, like I'm not a machine. No creator is a machine to just like pump out content. That's what like content companies are for, you know, that's what marketing teams are for. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not here to like, I can't just keep posting content just to post content to like keep my head above water. And I think that's why when we saw in 2024 hit, so many YouTubers just up and quit, because it's just you can't continue to keep doing this at the rate that YouTube is insisting. Like they're doubling the ads, but then cutting the pay for creators. Don't know how that makes sense, but it's just too hard to continue to just like all just continue to post like weekly or twice a week or whatever, because that's so much work unless you have a full team helping you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, content on demand is just, I think that's just a huge piece of capitalizing on creativity. And that's what kills a lot of creativity, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I believe that creativity cannot be forced. Like
Mm-mm.
doesn't work that way. You can't have a new idea every day. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. And it makes me think a lot about Frankie, Chaotic Witch Hunt, because I used to follow. I still follow them on TikTok. I just don't use TikTok anymore. And I saw how much they were present all the time. And I thought to myself, my God, how can Frankie keep this up? That's a lot of creativity. I cannot
So much. They still, like, even so, they've taken a step back, but even still, like, they still pump out videos all the time. Like, they are a hustler. They work
Yeah,
so much. And
yeah.
it also sucks because, like, then people get used to seeing content all the time from creators.
Hmm.
And then when they're finally like, I'm tired and I can't post this much, like, then people are like, well, you're not working hard enough, or you should feel, like, they get upset because they're not getting as much as they used to. And yeah, it's exhausting because then it's like, well, I'm one person doing like 10 people's jobs,
Everything.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm,
And now that I have like a job outside of the internet, I had to delegate at least one part of the entire process, which is editing. And it is kind of bittersweet because I really like editing, and there are stuff that only the creator can, do the exact way that, you know what I'm talking about. But at the
oh
same
yes,
time,
I will never, I cannot do it. I'm too much of a control freak.
yeah, but at the same time, I would not be able to have a job and still do editing for YouTube. It is so much work. I am tired all the time, and just filming, it's already a double journey of job. I leave work and then
Hmm.
I have more work to do at home with the channel and
Yeah.
Patreon and everything. So having an editor really helps. I had to let go a little bit of controlling the details and allow him the creative freedom. By the way, Hua, you are the best. But yes, people need to understand that we are human beings and we are doing so many things on this side of the screen. Let's talk a little bit about niched content, because your channel up until now, recently, it was focused on witchcraft and spirituality. So that was a niche. Right. So, what do you think about niched content? Is it necessary or is it limiting? How do you see it?
I think it's both. I think it's necessary because, niches are communities, and communities are necessary. And also, like, if we didn't have a niche, the way to find not only just information but reliable information from reliable people would be really difficult if, somebody wasn't sticking with the same thing. They were just kind of like, here's a random little video on a 101 of like protecting yourself spiritually, but then like the rest of the time they're making, I don't know, like videos about camera gear and like bookbinding and all. And it's like, so how do I know that you know about these things,
Yeah.
But then that goes on to the other side of like, that's also fair to like say about me, because I've always stayed in that niche of like spirituality, but at the same time, like, I do also do like a bunch of random little things off on the side. And I am one of those people that, like, I get bored easily. Like, I'm not going to stick with one thing only.
Hmm.
I'll stick with that one thing, but that's not going to be the only thing that I stick with forever. I'm going to get bored. I want more things. I want to be bad at something, so that I can like learn more about it. And I think it can be limiting, because that was one of my biggest struggles on my channel for a long time, that I was just like, I don't want to just do I don't want to just be known for witchcraft, because I'm so much more than somebody who's trying to teach you basics in witchcraft. Like, I don't want to be the only person that you're relying on. I also don't want to be like, I want to be seen as like who I am and not just what I can give you, type of thing.
Yeah.
And that was like a really big issue in my content for a very long time. And I think that's really why I got burnt out on doing spirituality content only. Not that I don't love it, but it's just, I did it for years, for so long. And I'm just kind of, I'm tired of doing all of just that right now. And so I'm moving into things that I enjoy again.
Yeah. When it comes to a niche, I think that there is a probability that at a certain point you will, I don't know, reach a limit. Like, you've talked about everything, and now what
Mm.
you're gonna do? Like, every subject has been talked about, and now what?
Hmm.
Because like you
Well,
have talked about so many different, like when it comes to educational videos, you talked about basically everything that there is for in a
yeah,
toolbox.
for basics.
Yeah, so at a given moment, you have to step outside of the niche and
Right.
look for what more you can bring. And it's been
Yeah. I mean, there's,
refreshing, gotta say.
thank you. Yeah, for me too. There's a like not witchy at all, but there's like a language YouTuber who like a lot of his YouTube videos that were super popular was him like going out and speaking fluently these languages to people and surprising them. And it's like he was doing that for years, and now he's like doing more kind of like he's excited to be a dad and like traveling, and like it's kind of still language based, but it's
Oriented,
more about
yeah.
like life and yeah. And so now like people are upset almost that they're like, why don't you still do these like these people? And he's like, because I've done that for over a decade. Like, you guys not bored of the same thing over and like, like it's weird to me that I think there is always going to be a market for it, but at the same time, like that creator, it's just like, so you just want me to do easy shit the whole time? Like, you just want me to like give you the same thing I've been giving you and nothing new and nothing interesting. Like, you don't want anything like creative from me or new from me. You just want the
Mhm.
same thing over and over, redundant. Like, yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Internet's
Yeah.
really weird about those things.
Yeah, yeah. On one side, I kind of understand, like, if they subscribe to a channel because they saw X type of video,
Right.
that's what they're going to expect from that channel. But people got to understand that we are humans on this side here. It's not a production, like a television thing that has a script and everything is set up. We are humans as well, and life happens, things change,
Mhm.
we grow up, we grow older. So we can't do the same thing for like 10, 15 years. It's just, yeah.
No.
And especially if there's some Aries energy, because you have some Aries energy, right?
Yes, I have an Aries moon.
Yeah, I have an Aries Mars, so I know getting bored.
Oh,
Well,
ooh.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, you would be fun to start to start fights with, huh?
No, I'm not fun to fight with. You don't want to fight with me. I mean, it is someone has to be very dedicated to get me angry, but
Yeah,
once
yeah.
they do, my God, what I do, what I've learned over the years, because when I get angry, I get really, yeah. So I just have to be alone. I tell people I am angry and I need time. So I lock myself
Hmm.
up for like a day or two
Hmm.
to calm down, because when I get angry, shit gets really serious and fiery. And yeah, please don't fight with
Oh,
me.
I'm the same
Nobody.
way. No, there's yeah, like I used to be when I was young, like I used to be very like fight mode. And so now I've turned to flight mode of like where I run because
Yeah.
I know that every time I'm really angry, which like is very, very rare, but like when I get really, really angry, like it's just so destructive. Like I will go
Yes.
for anything that I can break, whether that be like a physical item or that be your spirit. Like I will go for
Yeah.
anything, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. Like it's always a mess. It's always a bad thing. So I'm gonna run. I'm gonna be like, you need to give me some time to process and cool off, and then I'll have a
Yeah.
conversation with you like an adult.
Yeah, and combine that with Gemini energy. I mean, I always say stuff that break people like to pieces. So I know I'm gonna do something or say something that I'm gonna really regret later. So
Yeah.
please give me a couple of days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're both gonna regret this.
Yeah, my Virgo sun is like, let's pull out the criticism, why don't we? I'm like, don't do that, don't do that.
And then you have a checklist, like a
Yeah, I'm
scribble.
like, actually, I have so many receipts. You didn't say that. Let's think again. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
girl. Aries energy, huh? It is really very powerful because we get shit done. We start, we go after what we want. I really love that about this energy, but there is the destructive side of it and getting bored of stuff.
Mhm.
So I totally get you.
Yeah.
Now, another question If you would start a channel today, is there anything you would do differently?
Oh God, I'm sure I would do like a ton of things differently. I mean, first of all, if I was starting a channel today with like, no views, no followers, then I think it would be a lot easier for me to post things without really like worrying about the public eye seeing it. And so it really would be based off of like what I want to make and post. Also my quality would be so much higher than when I first started. Like, holy shit. I think I started filming on my phone and then I got like a little point and shoot camera type of thing. So it slowly built up. And then also like editing wise, B-roll wise, like everything, I have so much more of a skill set. And an eye for things than I did when I started by so much. And so it would be so much nicer to watch. And also my audio would not be god awful. Like so many things about it that I was just like, ugh, ugh. Like there's so many videos out there that, well, not out there anymore, that I've privated that I'm like, the world does not need to see this. And it's just, I'm like I'm never gonna watch these again. Nobody needs to see these. But yeah, I think those are the things that I would probably focus on, is more just like posting things that I want to post and not really having that worry of like, fuck, 500,000 people are probably gonna see this. And like, how do I feel about saying the things I said and doing the things that I did in front of 500,000 people, with all varying different perspectives and opinions? Like, you're never going to please anyone. Every video that I post, somebody's pissed off about something. So like, like whatever, it's going to happen, but it's more of just like annoying because there's like, for the longest time, I wouldn't really show anything that I ate. I mean, like, I still don't really talk about food, and that's a whole separate situation of like why I don't do that. But if I've posted multiple times of like that I'm at a burger place with friends or something, or like that I'm having a chicken sandwich and people will just berate me for eating meat, or that I'm not vegan, or like things. And I'm just like, what do you expect the whole world to be like that, or just because I'm a YouTuber, like that's why? Or, like, I think I was at a marathon one time I wasn't running, but like I was at a marathon one time in Los Angeles, waiting for a friend to run by. So I wasn't running, but they were handing out water bottles, and it's Los Angeles. It's really hot. It's in the middle of the summer. And so they were handing out water bottles, and I think I had like one of the plastic water bottles in my hand when I like took something on my Instagram and posted it. And the amount of DMs that I got that were like, you don't care about the earth, and like you are using plastic, and like you blah blah blah, like just like anything. And I'm like, so the one time I have a plastic water bottle in my hand compared to like, like I don't know, like I was just like, that's such a weird thing to focus on when you're taking it so out of context, like it's not like I'm like, that's such a weird thing to focus on. So the animal bones and like the thing that I do a lot of taxidermy and work with a lot of like deceased animals and insects. That one, it took forever for me to post anything about that, because I knew that people were going to get really mad about like thinking that I was going out and killing these animals for this. And I was like, no, that's not at all what's happening, So, yeah, I think that's kind of a whole rant. It was just, I just have to worry about it now,
Yeah, I mean, we don't have that many haters, but when I get weird comments or people being upset because I didn't reply to them or whatever, I think with myself, what would Beyonce do? Would she care?
Exactly.
I mean, if we allow those comments to get to us, we are going to go insane, because it's too many people watching. Even if it's a small audience, it's already like many people, and they will be looking at every single thing, every single aspect and detail of what's going on in the image. And some of those people, they are just trying to find a problem to argue about. They just want to pick a fight and start an argument and tell you how much you suck so they can feel good about themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, so what I've started doing is I'll make the video how I want to make it. I'll post it, and I will only read the comments for the first 24 hours. And then after that, I will never look at them again. And so that has helped my mental health significantly. Like, one of the creators that I know, when I first met her in person, I stayed with her, and we both like woke up at like 7 a.m. and we like immediately started working. And she pulls up first thing in the morning. She pulls up, because there's a function in YouTube Studio where you can look at the comments on a specific video, or you can just hit comments and it's all of the most recent comments on all of your videos ever.
Yeah.
And that is a game I will not play. I will not open that tab ever. And she, first thing in the morning, she opens it and she starts scrolling through. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm way too sensitive for that shit.
Yeah, I understand, because once I rewatched your video about the Watchers, and just out
Mhm.
of curiosity, I went to the comment section to take a look, like, at the most recent comments, and I saw some stuff that I was like, what the fuck? My
I
my
will
God,
not. You probably saw those. I didn't. I will not look at them.
no, you're not losing anything. People, like, I think that we live in a time and age that people are so void in their lives, and they look for something to fulfill them, often on the internet through influencers. Like, go to
Mhm.
therapy. It's not an influencer who is going to fill your
Truly.
void, or
Yeah.
anything for that matter. You have to work things out yourself. I mean, it is
Yeah. Well,
really.
one of the videos, what I thought was really interesting too is, again, like people don't realize that we're just like, we're not like these rich, like we're by any means, we're not rolling in money, you know, like
Mhm.
we're paid probably the bare minimum amount as everybody else and in like, you know, any other job. And
Mhm.
the video that I flew out to go visit Annie and help her with her haunted table, I remember specifically one comment, but there were a couple that they were like, oh, so you're just gonna use jet fuel engine and like take a plane somewhere, are you? And I was like, what? Like I was like, they were like, oh, you don't care about the environment because you're taking a plane? And I was like, so would you have rather me done what I did last time and drive all like are you not understanding like how big the US is? Like this takes
Yeah.
me 24 hours to drive up there and that's that much gas. Like I was like
Yeah.
this is a stupid argument. So
And it really surprises me
yeah, like
that people send you this kind of comment, because you've never been like an environmentalist content creator. So why are people holding those things against you? Like,
no, and like yeah, like and I've also never yeah, like I've also never been somebody who's like a fast fashion person or like trying to promote consumerism. So it's like I'm not really either of those ends.
mhm,
But like it's just a weird thing for them to again, like it's just a random little thing for them to latch onto of like, you're eating a chicken sandwich, fuck you. And I'm like, what? Like it's like you're like my God, you know? So it's just so extreme about everything and I've just gotten to the point where I just don't it sucks because like the whole point of like why I started a channel was to create community and that it's so hard to find community when there's so many people just being assholes just to be an asshole,
yeah.
which is why I think like my Patreon is so I love my Patreon because we get to have like little Zoom meetings and stuff and like I have that community and then Instagram seems nicer than YouTube for some reason so like you know all that stuff but that was a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, but it was a good one. Okay, now we're gonna move a little bit to a different topic, and it's a
Mhm.
little bit, it has to do with things you have been up to
Yeah.
lately, and I have seen that you have been a lot into reading. So we're gonna talk a little
Mhm.
bit about books and literature. So,
Okay.
first of all, what was it that got you into reading in the first place? Like, when did you become a reader? How did this happen in your life?
Um, oh God. Okay, so I think I started reading when I was like in the second grade. So I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or something. I think my first books that I can remember reading was Junie B. Jones. I don't know if anybody like knows that series, but
I
it was like a
don't.
kid series. Okay, it was like just like a random little kid series. And then of course I was like a Warriors kid like the cat books of the Warriors when I was like 12, I think 5th grade or something like that. And then when I got older, I started going away from fiction and going more into nonfiction. And I stayed there for a very long time up until recently. And so only recently have I started getting back into fiction.
Hmm.
And the fiction community and the nonfiction community are very different, is one thing that I've learned on the internet specifically. And what got me back into reading, I don't know. I think I just like maybe I like needed escapism really badly, and something like that. But I just felt like I kind of touched on a lot of different topics already, nonfiction, that I was like, oh, I want something new. So I asked my following that I was like, hey, what are your favorite books? And I just started reading anything and everything that people kind of suggested to me. Some of which I read, and I'm not gonna lie, I wish I was illiterate after that. And then others were phenomenal books. So it was a hit or miss, but it's definitely been a journey. I'm not done by any means. Yeah, so I think I've always been a reader. I just have been fluctuating through nonfiction and fiction.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to fiction, what are your favorite genres? And also in nonfiction, what type of genres do you go to the most?
Ooh, I don't know. This is a hard one for me because like I kind of like a lot of things. I think I can tell you for fiction, I don't like high fantasy. It's not something that I've
Hmm.
ever really been into. But I've realized that I think it's just high fantasy that I don't click with. Like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter have never been things that have like clicked with me. And then I've only recently watched Lord of the Rings, like the movies. I tried watching Harry Potter once, and like they're just like not things that ever clicked with me, interestingly enough. But I like low fantasy, so like things where it's kind of like it's our world, but with like a little spice or like a little bit of magic in there or something to add on to that world, but it's not a full different world that I have to learn the mechanics and learn everything about it.
Hmm.
Let's see. I think low fantasy is probably one of my favorites. I also really like I don't know. I like I don't know if it's like I think it's just like regular fiction. I don't know what it's. So there's this book that is very popular right now. It's called Bunny by Mona Awad or something.
I am completely outside of
Okay.
like
Well,
back in the day I used to watch a lot of BookTube and like yeah,
okay.
but today I'm not updated anymore.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I don't know, that book felt like a fever dream and it was wild and I really liked that one. I tend to really like dystopian fiction.
Mm.
I think I don't know why I'm like I'm going to escape to a different world and it's like dystopian. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I do. Maybe it's because when I come back to my world, I'm like, this is way better. I don't know. Fiction or nonfiction, I like a lot of nonfiction. My most recent ones are I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, my nonfiction bookshelf. My most recent favorites are called The Plant Hunter by Cassandra Quave, and that one's kind of like an autobiography where she talks about her journey, but there's just so much really good information in there that's just phenomenal, and it's also like I feel like that'd be a really easy book to adapt to a movie. There's one called there's the famous one Entangled Life by Erlen Sheldrake. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. That one's super fascinating. There's another one that's like all about how they curate history museums or science history museums, and that one was like really fucked up but really good. So like I just like learning about things and like mechanics of things and very specific things. A friend gave me a book called Walkable City, which is all about like a public transport and kind of like how
Hmm.
cars have taken over and how they suck. And that like just I like really random like niche things that you don't really think about every day, and you're like, oh shit, wow, I didn't realize how much of an impact this had in my everyday life just because it's normal to me. So I don't know. I think nonfiction is wild. I think nonfiction is kind of like crazier than a lot of fiction, which is why
Yeah, yeah.
maybe
Actually,
high fantasy doesn't do it.
I think that nonfiction is underrated because most of
It
the
is.
time when it comes to reading and literature, people talk about fiction books and nonfiction is not even mentioned. Things that are the very basis of everything around us. I don't know, psychology, philosophy, the world around us, the like biology. I don't know how cities are built, and the thing about cars that you've said, for example, it's things that are around us all the time, but we don't even notice. And I mean, fiction books, they are wonderful for us to ponder and think about things like dystopian books, as you've mentioned. I really like it, I immediately thought about George Orwell and Aldous Huxley because like those books, they
Oh,
are so
yes.
good
Listen,
and it
listen.
makes
Brave
you
New
think.
World hit me. It's so good.
Like,
Yeah.
it should be a real thing that people get cremated and the ashes become food for plants. If I'm not mistaken, that's in Brave New World. When I've read that, I was like, yeah, why aren't we doing this? It seems to make so much more sense, right? A little bit more natural, I would say. But anyway, those books, they take us, at least for me, it's such a mental experience that makes me think and wonder and question so many things. But nonfiction is about the real world, our reality, and learning about it and becoming an active individual who is conscious about stuff. So nonfiction should be more talked about, in my opinion. And your reader story when you were in the 8th grade, it makes me remember of how I started. It was at school once. I think I was in the 4th or 5th grade. We had to read a book that was something about child detectives, and it was they were detectives and they investigated crimes. I was so intrigued and excited about that. And on
Oh my
top of
God.
that, I had my mother who used to read a lot of Agatha Christie. So there was no way I
Oh, okay.
wouldn't be
So
a
that
reader.
just like that's so good. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes was like my fucking staple when I was in like middle school. That was a huge thing for me. I was obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. I loved him. That was just like one of like the things that always stuck with me. And somewhere along the lines, I lost a lot of those books, and now I just went to used bookstores and bought some new ones, and now I just have them. But I'm like,
The good thing about the classics is that you can probably find them at libraries. They always will have the
mhm,
classics. I
yeah.
remember when I was a kid, I went a lot to the town library with my mother. And I remember because, I mean, in Brazil, they don't give enough money, enough funds to libraries, you know. So at my local library, we had donated books. And I remember picking up stuff like Wuthering Heights and Edgar Allan Poe and
Mhm.
reading those things and being like, the picture of Dorian Gray, it was really
Oh,
mind blowing for
yes.
me. Those were the things I was reading when I was like 14 because that's what I had, the old
Damn.
books from the library.
Yeah, yeah. I know I was such a library kid, except I had like this weird fascination with like the depths of the ocean.
Hmm.
So for some reason, I'm not somebody who loves the water by any means either. Like I respect it, but I'm not like I need to be next to the ocean. I'm like that's okay. But like, I respect it. And so I've always been curious about it. And so I remember spending so much time in like the nonfiction area of like just like looking through books and like photos of these like animals that I was like, this thing exists. And really quick, I think that's why nonfiction is really important for especially practitioners to read, because when you learn how the world works and also how much we actually don't know, you're going to
Yeah.
realize like, oh, this it makes a little more sense why we could believe in a lot of these like spiritual theories, because there's so many things that even though we claim we have like a little bit of evidence on, we can't actually prove that
Yeah. Or
actually exists.
explain.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think I think learning nonfiction and reading nonfiction and learning how much we actually don't know makes the world more magical, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Totally. And I have to read Entangled Life. I've heard only good things
oh
about
my
that book.
God, talk about magic and like understanding consciousness and or intelligence within something like fungi. That book will blow your mind. It's so, so cool. It's fascinating.
Ah,
Definitely give it a good read. It's so good.
yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list. Would you say that you have like a top three author list kind of thing? Who are your favorites, you would say?
I don't think I have favorite authors. Um,
That's so hard.
I know it's really hard. I don't think I have favorite authors because like I have books that I really like, but just because they wrote that one good book, I've read other books by them that I'm like, I like this book, but like these
Hmm.
are like okay. I don't think I have an author that I'm like die hard for, which is unfortunate because I would really love to have an author that I'm like, oh my God, they just released a new book and I know it's gonna be good. Um, I just don't have that. So I think actually, like if I were to choose one, Bill Bryanston, something like that. He's a nonfiction author, but like it's a very good intro nonfiction type of thing, and he writes about things that could be really dense and boring in such a way that's interesting, and there's like a lot of humor in it. So he wrote this book called The Body, and
Mm.
it's literally just about the body. And he throws in these like crazy facts and history, but like also gives you something that's like really relatable, and a lot of really like humorous writing, so it's easy to read. And then he did another one called A Brief History of Everything or something like that, and I haven't finished that one yet, but it's similar of like it's just like random history bits. And yeah, but other than that, like I can't think of like a favorite author. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a good
it's
answer, but that's what I
yeah,
have.
but it's so hard to choose. Like, this is too difficult of a question, I would say.
Can I say Marshall from Witch of Southern Light? I've
Yes,
read
of
both of his
course.
books. I've read his unpublished book, all of the stories, and both of those books are phenomenal. So can I say that?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And if you could live in a book you've read, which one would it be and why?
Oh God. But I just said I like dystopian books. I don't think I would want to read in any of, or live in any of those. Um,
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah.
I think, okay, if I had to choose one, I just recently finished, well, not recently, but like a few months ago, I finished The Secret Life of Addie LaRue,
Mm.
and I adored that book. I don't know if I would live in it. Ooh, I don't know. I kind of have a crush on the person who's supposed to be a villain, so I don't know what that says about me, but like I'll live in that one for a chance.
Just to check it out.
It's a good one.
Okay, so this wouldn't be a video with you if we wouldn't talk a little bit about spirituality. So I prepared a few questions about that. Let's talk a little bit about like what your magical practice looks like today. Is it the same thing
Mm.
from like compared to your spiritual era on your channel? Is it still the same thing? Did anything change? How is it going?
I mean, things are always changing. I think I've stuck with my basics of I always give offerings in the morning. The first thing I do is like when I make coffee, my altars get coffee. Or if I make tea in the morning, my altars get tea. So that's like the first thing always, and that's been consistent for years. I think it's less intense, I guess, as of recently, because I did have kind of a slump, especially like I don't know, I was like going through like a depression, and like this last year, like 2023 was really bad for me. So I think I just lost a
Mm.
lot of that because I just didn't have the energy to like
Mhm.
do rituals or to do stuff. Like I gave offerings, and sometimes I, meditate a little bit and like do a couple of spells, but like they weren't anything intensive by any means. Nowadays it's a lot less of sitting down and doing the witchy thing and more of doing the things that I'm doing and then making those witchy. So like I said, cooking in my death practice, like that's something that I've always struggled with, is like cooking, because I just don't like it. I love food, and I like good food, and I like eating, but I hate cooking so much. And it just feels like a chore, and I don't want it to feel like a chore. I want it to feel like something that's like, oh, this is fun, this is creative. And it's all these things that I enjoy, but not it itself for some reason. So recently my death practice has been teaching me of like, okay, well, to like, if I am to die, then I am to dine. Like I should be appreciating and like really relishing in that human experience of being able to cook something good for myself and eat, and also share
Yeah.
that with other people. Because I'm not always going to get that. Like I'm going to die. And so like at some point, like I should be able to like enjoy that. And I'm all about like enjoying and
Mhm.
romanticizing everything about your life, like the little things. So it's like it's for some reason cooking has been one of those like sticky parts that's just so difficult. And as of recently it's been getting better and I'm not even like doing kitchen magic. Like I'm not like, like, oh, talking to the herbs or whatever. Like I'm not even doing that. It's just more of like, okay, in order to honor my death practice and also acknowledge that I am to die, I want to enjoy the fact that I'm like making this meal and really just make it intentional. And that's been helping a lot. And I've just like, that's just one piece. Otherwise, like it's a lot of journaling. I started dabbling in astrology, which has never been a strong point for me either. By no means am I going to tell you that I know a lot yet, but I'm starting to learn a lot from other people who do know a lot more than I do, and starting to read a little more about it. And yeah, and I think like death work and local seasonal work is and always has been like very prominent. So those things are still well and alive, but I think what it's changed from is, I don't know, like I don't do as much like house magic as I used to, or like I don't do a ton of charms anymore. Like it's more of just like, oh well, I need this, so I'm just gonna like put on oil really quick. Like it's very, very integrated into my everyday life, and I don't actually set time aside to like craft this whole charm and whatever unless I really, really need to. Yeah, so he's just like back here making biscuits.
Yeah, I understand that. I also had a period in which I would do stuff all the time and charm things and be super like producing, let's say,
Mhm.
spirituality in my life. But nowadays I do stuff like I take one day of the week to cook, to set up the altar, give offerings, and it's so much more practical. It's
Mhm.
still effective, it's not about a frequency, it's about quality. So
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on the person because I definitely think that like consistency is good, but I agree that like if you're not giving quality to your practice, like you're not going to get quality out. So I completely agree with
yeah,
that. Yeah, I try to work with the moon because that's a little less, it's not
intense. Like
weekly,
it's not all the
like I'm
time.
like yeah, I'm like just once a month. And even then I'm like, fuck, it's already a new moon. Shit. Like so even then I'm like, oh
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
date for it. Sometimes working with the moon can get complicated because you got to be on
Hmm.
schedule.
Yeah.
And you mentioned astrology, right? So is there anything else that you would like to learn or go deeper into? And how, like, what you're thinking about learning? How are you feeling about learning more about astrology? I just got myself mixed up here.
I'm excited about it because again, like I really like technical, tedious things. So when it comes to astrology, like that's exactly what it is. And it's this huge, complex system, and there's multiple systems, and I think while yes, it's definitely overwhelming, I love things that you see real results from. And as I've started slowly stepping into it, I've been seeing really real results. And of course, like when you tell people who don't know anything about astrology at all, it's always like, whatever, like zodiac signs and like, people say X, Y, and Z because I'm a Virgo. And it's like very, very
Hmm.
basic, like just watered down. Like that is not at all what astrology is. Which I used to be one of those people where I was just like, whatever, like it's just people are just gonna, say X, Y, and Z because I'm a Virgo. But looking at somebody's chart, that's like a full different thing because it has
Yeah.
the layers. And yeah, I think there's a lot more technicality, and also there's a lot more nuance to it than you would expect. So I'm having fun with it. And also it's like kind of shocking me because I think I had somebody who's really good at astrology was like, hey, what year and what month did you start your channel? Like, did you post your first witchy video? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, it was this month. And they go, is it this day? And did you post it at this time? And I was like, how the fuck did you know that? And they were like, oh, I'm just looking at like the stars in your chart and like seeing how successful you were. Like, I just assumed it was like within these 4 hours and on this day. And I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So like little things like that. And like I'll ask my friends, I'll be like, so what's the star weather if I like decide that I want to move on this month and whatever, like X, Y, and Z, and like they'll give me kind of suggestions, and sure enough, like things usually end up falling within that place that they predicted, and it's really, really wild. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. I think it's kind of almost like a weather forecast is how I view it. And I think that's a lot of fun, and it's almost like a step up of like, or not a step up, but like something that complements divination really well.
Yes, it
So
does.
yeah, I'm very excited about that.
And is there anything else that you would like to learn or go deeper into? or it's only astrology for now?
I think right now it's just astrology. I'm very when I focus on one thing, it's usually like that's the thing that I'm like,
Hmm,
you're mine
hmm.
right now and nothing else, you know. So yeah, I think right now it's just for now it's astrology.
Yeah, I tried to learn a little bit more about astrology as well, and it is mind-blowing how precise it can be. I am far from being any type like of expert or professional, but the little things that I've learned so far, it is so interesting and fascinating with the natal chart. Like it's like a map
Mhm.
for somebody else. So that's why you cannot give your birth info to just any random
Yes.
person, because your natal
Yes.
chart is a map of you. So be careful with that
Hmm.
information out
Hmm.
there. But it is so
100%.
impressive, the little things that I know, and I try to interpret the charts of friends and I tell them about it, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is so interesting."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun too, because like recently I had somebody who was like, I don't believe in all that. And I was like, that's fine. I still want to know for fun. And they were like, okay. And so I got their chart and I sent it over to, of course, a friend who knows what they're talking about. And my friend, who's an astrologer, like gave me all of the rundown. And the other person was like, what the fuck? Like, they've never met me. And I was like, oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
told you this shit's creepy. And they were like, oh my God. And I was like, I know, it's crazy. So like we started now like sometimes they'll reach out and be like, what's the star weather for this? And I'm like, see, now I need to learn so that I can be the star weather person.
Yeah, especially when you talk about family dynamics, stuff that happened in the family through the natal chart, you can see sometimes a few things. People are really impressed by that. Like, how was your
Oh, I
childhood?
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, you can peep a few things, and professionals, they can really see a lot. But like with the limited knowledge that I have, I can tell if the home was chaotic, if it was peaceful, if the parents were like this or like that, and people get really impressed because I
Wow.
don't know about their life growing up. So how did you like it? People get impressed. It is funny.
Yeah, yeah, it is funny to like be like, yeah, I know everything about you now.
Yeah, you are in my hands now. Thank you.
Mhm, mhm. Tread very carefully. Tread lightly.
Now, let's talk a bit about having a flatmate because you have one now.
Mhm.
I'm about to have flatmates as well. So, how is it for you to be a practitioner who shares the space of a house with somebody else? Or, like, are they practicing too?
So I've had a lot of flatmates like while I practiced. Some didn't practice at all, and others do. Well, this current one does very lightly, but like she does practice. And yeah, I mean, like I've always been pretty open about my practice, so usually it's never like a surprise. I try to keep all of the shocking things, I guess, more confined to my space. But for the most part, like it's really it doesn't really change a lot. It's more of just being conscious of, like shared space and kind of like how I said, like my altar candle dripped all over the wall. And I was like, look, this is not the first time, nor is this the worst thing that has ever happened with candles. So I was like, I'll clean it up. But like if it did get on her PS4, like I'd be like, I'm buying you a new one. I'm so sorry. Like that probably would have
Yeah.
been, part of the thing. But ooh, I'm just glad that it didn't. And yeah, I don't know. Like I don't have like huge issues with it. I think it's more of just like communication of like, hey, do you mind if I put my altar out here? Or like, do you mind if I light incense? Just like things like that, because some people can be sensitive to that. But
Mhm.
none of my previous flatmates or partners have ever had any issues with me practicing, to be honest. So I haven't had any issues just because I've always been open about it. But I can imagine that that would be harder if you're not like open about practicing.
I am open. Like, I don't have a problem telling people to an extent. Of course, I'm not going to talk about everything because people always have some preconceived ideas. So, for example, people at my workplace, they know I do tarot and I call myself a witch. Some know that I have a channel and everything. I don't mind about people knowing those things. And sometimes they make fun of me. I don't don't mind. Sometimes
Yeah.
they want a reading, and I say, "Oh, you gotta pay first."
Right. Yeah. You're like, this has to be an energy exchange on both ends,
Yeah,
my
there's gonna
friend.
be an exchange there, but there's like a limit. I'm not gonna tell them everything because they could. Your camera went out. It happens. Yeah, there is a limit to how much I'm gonna share because I don't want to like shock people or make them think I am insane or weird. They probably already think I'm weird, and I don't mind. It's good to keep curious people away, you know. I don't want a lot of people around me trying to be too close to me or whatever. So it's good to keep the wrong ones away from me.
Mhm.
But living together with other people, like sharing a space that is so personal and like I am a little bit anxious about it. I think it's gonna be fine, but it's just that I never had the experience before.
Mhm.
Like even with the partner that I had here, he didn't get to see everything I was doing. There were things that I would simply just not talk about even though he was very curious to know. I was like, no comments. Don't try to insist.
Yeah, there are things that, it's not even like your information to tell. It's like the spirits are like, and you're like, okay, I won't say anything.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
So
I'd be
yeah, I'm
worried if I had
curious.
like bad energy type of thing. I think that's when I'd be like, this is a bad time of like I'm trying to keep my home like good energy and like free of, bad energy, like latching to spirits or attracting spirits that latch onto, more negative energy. And so like if I had somebody that I was living with that was like that, I think that's when I'd be like, oh God, this is gonna be so much more work because I'm a practitioner and that
Mhm.
like, is kind of light for other spirits. And then if they're bad energy, that's gonna be a light for like negative spirits. And I'm gonna have to do so much work, so much more work than I usually would.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the best. I'm also a little bit curious about like how is it going to be for home protection? If they are going to be
Hmm.
okay with me putting up stuff on the doors, or if I'm going to have to keep it only in my room. I will have to ask.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's see. It's another
Yeah.
adventure, right?
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so I told you on Instagram that at the end of the video, I usually do a little bit of a game. I did that with everybody, but I realized I forgot to do it with Benta, which is unfortunate. Maybe we're gonna have an
No.
opportunity another time. I completely forgot about it when I filmed with them. But anyway, there's this little game that I call 101 in which I am going to mention something and you need to respond to it or like define it with the first thing that comes to your mind. Like, for
Okay.
example, color. And then what's the color that comes to your mind? Something like that, but a little bit more elaborate.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
A book,
Secret Life of Addie LaRue.
a character,
Sherlock Holmes.
a pet peeve.
Willful ignorance.
Oh, God, yes. A spirit,
Yes.
a destination.
Ooh, Norway?
That's a good one. A regret.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't usually regret things, even mistakes. A regret.
That's what I'm talking about.
Staying in situations long after I knew they weren't good for me.
Yeah.
Wasting
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Death.
Promise, comfort.
And wanderlust.
Ooh, playfulness and curiosity.
Ah, okay. Olivia, this was delightful. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. This was really fun. I hope you had a good time because it is super early for you over there.
No, not. I mean, I'm early riser, so this is like about the time I'd be up and ready to do stuff anyway. So thank you for having me. This was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed watching this conversation, and we're gonna see you someday again, another time. And remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Bye bye.